This is the tale of Bloody Makenzie, and it is a Scottish urban legend, and it's suitable for ages 12 to 15. In Edinburgh in 1998, there was a terrible storm that was ravaging the entire city. So, a homeless man sought refuge, and he made his way over to Greyfriars Churchyard, which is a pretty famous cemetery in Edinburgh, thanks in part to this one guy and his dog. That's a tale for another time. So he goes into the churchyard and he makes his way back to the very, very, very back corner, and there's a place called the Covenanters prison section. So he's looking around and all of a sudden he spies this giant mausoleum. And this mausoleum has two very important things. It has a roof and a door, which means that it is the perfect shelter for this homeless man tonight. So he runs up the stairs and he busts in the old iron lock and he makes his way inside. Now, the next part of the story is a little bit tricky. Some people say that he was just really, really tired and he needed a place to sleep, and the best place for that to happen would be inside the coffins that were resting in the mausoleum. You know, they're soft, they're nice inside. Some other people think that he was just a thief and he was trying to find any jewels or diamonds or gold or something that was valuable that he could steal from the mausoleum. Whatever the reason, this homeless man decided to start breaking into the coffins in the mausoleum. So he's pounding on them, he's shaking them back and forth, he's moving them, he's making all kinds of racket, trying to get inside the coffins. Well, the floorboards underneath of the coffins start to whine and groan and moan and buckle with all of the movement. Nobody's been in this mausoleum for years. And he is moving everything around and he's stomping his feet and he's trying to get in those coffins. Well, the floorboards can't take it after a few minutes and they crack and they fall through, and the poor homeless man falls through the floor with them. Now, unbeknownst to him, there is a pit under the mausoleum, and it's not just any pit. Nope. This pit was once a mass grave for victims of the plague. Now, up until the homeless man busted through the floor to get into it, this pit had been pretty well sealed. Nobody had really been in there in quite some time. So instead of falling into a pit of maybe dry, old, dusty bones, like you might expect, no, he fell into a pit of partially decomposing humans. That's right, the bodies had not fully decomposed. He fell into a pile of putrefied flesh. It was black and green and slimy and stinky, and it was full of bugs and matted hair and all sorts of disgusting things that you don't even want to know about. So it took him a couple seconds to realize what exactly he fell into, and as soon as he did, he panicked and he clawed his way and he tried to get out of that pit. And he managed to pull himself up and out, but on the way he scraped his forehead against those floorboards that he broke. He didn't care, even when blood started running down his face. He didn't care. He just wanted to get out of there. So out he ran. He ran out of the mausoleum and out of the churchyard as fast as he possibly could. Now, all of this banging around and loud noises and falling into pits of death brought the security guard over. You know, what's happening? He heard all this commotion. Well, when he got to the Covenanters prison section of the cemetery, he saw a bloody, bedraggled, smelly man running as fast as he can out of the cemetery. So, of course, the security guard decides to do the most logical thing, and that's to run as fast as he can out of the cemetery in the opposite direction. So the next morning, the security guard comes back to work and he tells everybody what happened, what he saw, and nobody quite believes him. It's a little far-fetched, it's a little crazy. But they are all about to, because this poor homeless man who only needed a dry place to sleep and busted into this mausoleum, he happened to choose the worst possible mausoleum in the entire cemetery to break into. He chose the Black Mausoleum, which is the final resting place of Sir George Makenzie, or as he's more commonly referred to in Scotland, Bloody Makenzie. That's right, Sir George Mackenzie's nickname is Bloody Makenzie, mostly due to his rather enthusiastic attitude towards the torture and murder of thousands of Covenanters throughout Scotland. So in the 17th century, a group called the Covenanters wanted to keep Scotland Presbyterian. They wanted to uphold something called the National Covenant, while others sought to turn Scotland Episcopalian, some other religion, right? They wanted to stay Presbyterian. They fought tooth and nail against the government. There was the English Civil War, there was the Scottish Civil War, there was the Irish Confederate Wars, all of this to try to keep Scotland Presbyterian. They even got King Charles I executed. So they fought and they fought and they fought and they fought and they fought. And then unfortunately for the Covenanters, in about 1670, they lost. They lost, and so led by Judge Sir William Makenzie, George Makenzie, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of Covenanters are all rounded up, and then they are hung, beheaded, and sent to prison. Now, a very lucky few get their heads displayed on spikes around the city, and an even luckier few get to go to Greyfriars Churchyard or to the Covenanters prison within Greyfriars Churchyard. Now, what is this prison? It's an outside open-air prison, which has very little shelter for the prisoners within it, which doesn't do you so good in the Scottish winter. And it goes on record as being the very first concentration camp ever in existence. So George Makenzie kind of oversaw this concentration camp, if you will, in Scotland, and told his guards to have at it. Torture the prisoners as much as you want. Do whatever you want to them. Beat them every day if you want to. Who cares? They're Covenanters. So the prisoners were tortured daily. They were starved. They were beaten. They were treated horribly. And after several months of this, anybody who didn't die of starvation or because they were beaten or because they were executed was sent off to Australia. All in all, it is estimated that Sir George Makenzie is responsible for the deaths of over 18,000 Covenanters in Scotland. His own countrymen. They were all killed, mostly due to him. So, this poor homeless man, upon breaking into the vault, has apparently awakened the spirit of Sir George Makenzie. Immediately after this night, a woman is found outside of the vault, and she is unconscious on the floor, and they wake her up and they ask her what happened, and she said something pushed her back. She was by the door, and something felt like it almost ran her over and pushed her out. And then a couple of days later, another woman is found unconscious, and she has a ring of bruises all around her neck, and she said it felt like somebody had been strangling her, but she couldn't see anybody, right? And so this goes on and on and on. People are found unconscious. People are reporting that they're feeling strangled or cold spots throughout the cemetery, and it gets dangerous. So the Edinburgh City Council decides to close off the mausoleum and not let anybody else go inside, right? Because something is happening here. But it's a little too late, because word has spread. And now throughout Scotland, what is being referred to as the Makenzie poltergeist is drawing crowds and crowds and crowds and crowds of people to Scotland, to Edinburgh, to the churchyard to see what possibly is going on. Everybody wants to catch a glimpse of this ghost in action, and a lot of them do. Since 1998, there's been over 700 people who have reported encounters with the Makenzie poltergeist. Now, these are just the reported incidents. There are probably many, many, many more, but these are the ones that have been reported. People have reported passing out, losing consciousness, cameras or other electrical equipment stop working when they're by the mausoleum. There's fires that start unexpectedly with no real cause as to why there was a fire there. They find dead animals all around the mausoleum quite often. Lots of spooky things start happening. A lot of people end up leaving Greyfriars Churchyard with a little souvenir from Sir George Makenzie, and that is bruises, scratches, burns, and pieces of their skin gouged out. And for a very, very, very lucky few, the fun doesn't stop once they leave the churchyard. No. There are several reports of people who experience these phenomena, scratches, burns, bruises, that they don't know where they came from, several weeks after they leave the churchyard. In fact, there was one policeman who him and his mother were looking at pictures they had taken from their visit to the churchyard several weeks after they left, and both of them received scratches, 3 or 4, down the side of their neck in the exact same spot, with no known cause. So is the spirit of Sir George Makenzie bitter and angry that someone broke into his mausoleum? Is he torturing the people all around Greyfriars Churchyard? Some say yes, some say no. Some say a lot of this can be explained because Edinburgh University has a artificial intelligence unit right next to the churchyard, and they use a lot of machinery and they emit a lot of electromagnetic energy, and a lot of people say that, oh, if you're sensitive to that, that's what's causing all these problems. But that doesn't really explain all the scratches, now does it? Is George Makenzie really there? I guess you'll have to go to Greyfriars and find out for yourself, and hey, maybe he'll even let you leave with a souvenir.